necessarily because Bobby was great. I mean, he's a good performer, but I mean, he's not Robert Gibson.
Right.
But he had me. He had like Scott Armstrong came in and helped train sometimes. I mean, his was more of a group effort, and he had a building that was actually just the wrestling school. When Robert taught, he taught here, he taught there, mostly at the fairgrounds. I guess because he was tight with Tatum, who runs the fairgrounds, which was cool. But Bobby had a facility. He had a school where, Monday, Wednesday, Friday you'd go and the ring would be set up. There's workout equipment. Not that I ever used any of it, but and everybody would. I mean, we'd always have a group there. Every time we were supposed to train, there was always people there.
Okay. Back to how shows are ran. We talked about the poorly run shows. What would you say was probably the best run show? And again, attendance does not dictate show quality.
The best run show?
As far as booking and overall performance.
Well, right now, definitely Gulf South, Percy's. Because it is, you walk in to Percy's show, you look on the wall, there's a sheet, tells you who you're working, how long you're going, what the finish is. I mean, everything's down to a T. How long you're going. His ring's perfect. I mean, it's beautiful. Everything looks good. He's got a good locker room. It's not like you get there and everything's all shuffle. Who's going to work who? What are we going to do? I'd say second to that all time would probably be PWA.
Okay.
Because Bobby he had the war room where he'd call everybody in, tell you exactly what you're doing. He'd have a sheet, just like Percy does now. I'm sure I'm leaving people out, or leaving promotions out, but those are the two that come to mind immediately.
What promotions were probably the most fun for you?
PWA, definitely. Hands down, bar none.
Could you give any specifics as to why?
I don't know, honestly.
I know September of 2001, you actually quit working, wrestling, and you started doing announcing and television.
Right.
And PWA went a year and a half after that? Maybe a year?
Not quite a year, because I would have came back and wrestled, and I never had the opportunity to come back and wrestle for PWA. Okay. So I guess it would be not quite a year after that.
Okay.
I missed it.
Did you enjoy the wrestling aspect of it? Did you?
It was just like we were a family. I mean, I know it's hokey and corny sounding as shit, but I mean, the locker room was just, I don't know why, but all the guys got along. Bob ran it well. It was weekly, which helps so much because your storylines progress week to week. They do TV. You learn how to do promos and all that stuff.
There were 2 TV shows. Mm-hmm. There was the call-in show, and then there was also the hour-long wrestling show, which was basically an advertisement for the live show, because we couldn't get 3 hours of live show onto a 1-hour spot.
Right.
Which you were on both those shows. Mm-hmm. You did commentary, as well as the live call-in show.
Right. I was an on-air talent.
You were an on-air talent.
And I use the term talent loosely. But
were there any really funny PWA stories? I know for whatever reason PWA kind of has a strong name in this area. As well as the workers and the people involved with it. It also touched some of the fans, and people ask me a lot. What can you say that happened? Was there anything particular that happened that you can kind of, something maybe nobody would know, or something that happened backstage? Maybe that would kind of a funny story.
There was a time that Bill Cornbread Ball put Icy Hot down Corey Jackson's pants. That was funny.
That was, yeah.
Other than that, I can't think of anything.
Anything that we wouldn't have to put an X rating on, I suppose.
Yeah. There's some things I definitely don't want to get into that occurred. But, because I don't know all the facts and I wasn't there, so I'm not going to comment on them.
Now, without getting anybody in any trouble, what do you think ultimately shut PWA down? I mean, they were consistently drawing 200 to 300 people. There was TV, there was sponsors, money didn't seem like an issue, talent didn't seem like an issue, and everybody was still very passionate and gung-ho about it. What do you see happened as... You weren't involved in booking / storytelling. You were, like you said, an on-air talent.
Right.
From what you've heard, hearsay, rumors, things like that, what happened?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think... A lot of people think that the incident that I'm not going to talk about was one of the reasons. I don't so much think so. I think it was just Bob's decision. I just think
You think he was ready to give it up?
I think it became too much of a chore for him, and I know going to the fairgrounds was a bad move from the carousel. I mean, I don't know about the business side because I wasn't on that. But as far as, because the fairgrounds were hard to draw, it seemed like the crowds decreased as we were in the fairgrounds. I know it cost more, and I don't know monetarily if that had something to do with it. But I think, and I've never talked to Bob about it, so I really couldn't tell you why it got shut down. I just know.
Yeah, Bobby Dahl kind of disappeared after PWA shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Have you spoken with him since?
Once or twice. I've spoken to him on the phone, I think once. I've emailed back and forth a couple times, and he wrestled for Claw and Milton for old school wrestling. Was it 2 months he worked for Claw? And of course, with old school wrestling, we're in separate dressing rooms, so I didn't really get to catch up with him that much to talk to him. I think on one show when he turned heel, I was able to talk to him for a little while, and that's it.
PWA didn't come up at all? Okay.
Nope.
So we were talking about PWA and Bobby Dahl, and people say that PWA was a good representation of a new school promotion as far as the way it was booked and some of the spots that were being run as far as some of the wrestling. You had guys like New Era, the Backyard Boys, guys who were doing some revolutionary things in the area.
Mm-hmm.
You were trained 15 years ago. Would you place yourself in the old school, the new school, and I was also wondering what your thoughts on each individual school was?
I like old school psychology. With baby face, heel. I prefer that to just two guys wrestling, like more of a real athletic, like real sport kind of situation. Especially here in the South, because that's kind of, in the Northeast they like that, but in the South they like babyface heel because all the rednecks like, yeah, I hate you. Yeah. To me, there's more heat in a babyface heel situation. It's hard to get heat from the crowd in a babyface situation. But I'm kind of a mixture of both, and I'm sure anybody would say that when you sit them here and ask them that question. But I like old school psychology, but I like high spots. Like new school, I guess, would be defined as kind of like the X Division in TNA, with it's like spot. But those guys only have 3 minutes for a match on TV, so they kind of have to do that to get all their shit in. But I prefer old school, really, especially now because I'm broken down and out of shape. So I like to sit on a headlock. And I think if you can get heat with a headlock takeover and then the heel pulls the tights or something, and if the fans are going to get up for that, there's no reason to kill yourself and jump from the top rope to the floor and through a guardrail or something if you're going to get the same amount of crowd reaction from a good Southern crowd with babyface heel shit. So
you wrestled most of your career as a babyface.
Correct.
Everywhere you went, you were the Lightning Kid.
Correct.
It wasn't until PWA that you turned heel.
Mm-hmm.
What did you like working better?
Oh, better? Gosh. Probably heel. Heel's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to make people hate you than it is to make them love you. Probably heel. But I didn't know anything else because I was, when they trained me and I was little, and back then if you were small, you were a babyface. Because people feel sorry for you because you're getting the crap beat out of you by some big 250-pound guy.
Right.
And the whole Lightning Kid thing was on a sidebar. They kind of gave me that name.
Oh, that wasn't something you chose?
Correct. Steve and Chris gave it to me. They gave me Jerry Reiner, too, actually. Reiner's not my real last name. Yeah.
Pshaw.
You're kidding. I was in the ring with Steve Savage, and he says, they were trying to think of a name for him, and he said, what about Reiner, like Rob Reiner, that director? I was like, whatever.
Huh.
And 15 years later, I'm still Jerry Reiner. I guess they wanted to put the Lightning Kid name on posters, and people would think Sean, but that was before he was even in WWE, so I doubt that was behind it. I didn't like it so much, and later on when I realized, oh crap, I'm copying somebody, I kind of wanted to change it, but at that point, all the little towns, everybody knew me as the Lightning Kid.
Yeah, you still go to some places, and you're the Lightning Kid.
So, but when